When it comes to classic arcade racing, few games are as legendary as Sega Rally Championship. Originally tearing up the arcades in 1994, this high-speed, drift-heavy racer made its way to the Sega Saturn in 1995, bringing its groundbreaking physics and intense time-attack gameplay to home consoles. But how well did the Saturn version hold up? Did it capture the magic of the arcade experience, or did hardware limitations put the brakes on its performance? Today, we're diving into the development, gameplay mechanics, and technical aspects of Sega Rally Championship to see how this iconic racer truly stacks up. Bringing Sega Rally Championship from the arcade to the Sega Saturn was no small feat. The original arcade version ran on Sega's Model 2 hardware, a beast of a system at the time, capable of handling high-polygon environments, smooth texture mapping, and advanced lighting effects. But the Saturn? That was a different story. Sega's home console was notoriously complex, featuring a dual CPU architecture that developers often struggled to optimize. Unlike the Model 2, which specialized in 3D graphics, the Saturn was built with 2D gaming in mind, meaning 3D rendering required some serious technical workarounds. This resulted in noticeable compromises, lower polygon counts, simplified textures, and a reduced frame rate, all necessary to keep the game running at a playable speed. One of the biggest hurdles was the draw distance. The Model 2 hardware could push distant environments smoothly into view, but on the Saturn, popping became much more apparent. To counter this, developers adjusted track designs and used clever fog effects to hide some of the limitations. Another challenge? The Saturn's limited texture memory. The arcade version's detailed road surfaces and lush environments had to be scaled down, resulting in a rougher look with more noticeable pixelation. The Saturn's quad space rendering also made it difficult to replicate the same smooth curves and angles seen in the arcade, which is why some elements appear slightly warped or jagged. One of the biggest hurdles was the draw distance. The Model 2 hardware could push distant environments smoothly into view, but on the Saturn, popping became much more apparent. To counter this, developers adjusted track designs and used clever fog effects to hide some of the limitations. And then there's the physics. Sega Rally Championship was known for its incredible handling and terrain-based traction, but translating it to Saturn's hardware took some creative coding. The Saturn version runs at a lower frame rate, around 30 FPS compared to the arcade's smoother 60, affecting input responsiveness. Despite this, Sega's AM3 team worked hard to keep the car physics intact, ensuring that the weight, drifting, and off-road traction still felt authentic. In the end, despite the hardware constraints, Sega Rally Championship on the Sega Saturn remains one of the best home conversions of an arcade racer from that era. It may not be a one-to-one match with the arcade, but it still delivers that high adrenaline rally experience, proving that great gameplay can overcome technical limitations. For a game that pushed the Sega Saturn to its limits, Sega Rally Championship holds up remarkably well. But like any ambitious port, it wasn't perfect. While game-breaking bugs are rare, a few technical hiccups and quirks have made their mark on the game's history. One of the more famous issues occurs in the split-screen multiplayer mode. Occasionally, player 2's car can become invisible or fail to render entirely. This is likely due to the Saturn's memory constraints struggling to handle two separate viewpoints at once. The result? A ghost race where one player is left driving against an unseen rival, frustrating, but also a little hilarious. Sega Rally is known for its impressive handling and terrain physics, but sometimes the calculations don't quite add up. A well-timed bump or an awkward landing can send your car momentarily floating, as if gravity decided to take a quick break. It's not a common occurrence, but when it happens, it makes for some unexpected mid-air acrobatics. And of course, there's the ever-present texture warping, something Sega Saturn owners are all too familiar with. Due to the console's unique quad-based rendering, some track surfaces and objects can distort or stretch in unusual ways, especially when viewed at certain angles. Combined with the aggressive pop-in, it can sometimes feel like the track is shifting right beneath your tires. Despite these quirks, none of them ruin the experience. If anything, They add to the charm of playing a game that was doing everything it could to bring the arcade thrill home. Sega Rally on the Saturn may have its flaws, but it still stands as one of the best arcade-to-home conversions of its time. When Sega Rally Championship roared into arcades in 1994, it was an instant hit. The game's tight controls, terrain-based physics, and competitive time attack gameplay made it a staple of racing fans and arcade goers alike. But the real question was, could that success translate to home consoles? The answer? A resounding yes. Released in December 1995, Sega Rally Championship quickly became one of the Sega Saturn's defining titles. While exact sales figures vary, estimates suggest it sold over 1.2 million copies worldwide, making it one of the system's best-selling games. In Japan, it was a massive success, ranking among the Saturn's top hits. In Europe, where rally racing was particularly popular, the game was a must-have, helping to boost Saturn's presence in the market. Even in North America, where the PlayStation was rapidly taking over, Sega Rally managed to hold its own as one of the Saturn's standout titles. Critics loved it. Reviews praised its fluid gameplay, tight controls, and the way it captured that feel of real rally racing better than any home console racer before it. Sure, it didn't have a huge roster of cars or tracks, but what was there was polished to near perfection. Edge Magazine, Sega Saturn Magazine, and multiple gaming outlets called it one of the best racing games of its era. Beyond its sales, Sega Rally Championship left a lasting impact on the racing genre. Its innovative terrain physics, where grip changed dynamically based on the road surface, was a first for arcade racers and would go on to influence future rally and off-road games. Developers took note, with later franchises like Colin McRae Rally and WRC adopting similar surface-based handling systems. And let's not forget its influence on Sega itself. Without Sega Rally Championship, we might never have gotten its sequels, the Dreamcast Sega Rally 2, or even later racing titles like Outrun 2. The game's DNA can be seen in every Sega arcade racer that followed, keeping that signature mix of realism and arcade fun alive. Rally Championship was more than just another racing game. It was a technical achievement, a gameplay masterclass, and a defining moment for Sega's arcade-to-home conversions. While the transition from the powerful Model 2 arcade hardware to the tricky Sega Saturn wasn't without its compromises, the end result was still something special. It delivered fast, fluid racing with terrain-based handling that set a new standard for rally games. Sure, there were some graphical downgrades, pop-in issues, and the occasional glitch, but none of that could take away from the sheer thrill of nailing a perfect drift through a hairpin turn. With over 1 million copies sold, universal critical praise, and an undeniable influence on the future of rally racing games, Sega Rally Championship proved that a great game isn't just about technical perfection, it's about how it feels to play. And nearly 30 years later, it still feels incredible. So, did you grow up playing Sega Rally on the Saturn? Maybe you spent countless hours trying to shave seconds off your best times. Let me know in the comments, what's your best memory of this legendary racer? And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more retro gaming retrospectives. Thanks for watching No Drama Llama Gaming. See you in the next one.
Medium right, checkpoint. Easy left, maybe. Easy left, maybe.